X. I am Mike.
I'm Jen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I hate in the rain, but like in the
It has
rain.
been a lot of rain today.
We're in South Carolina and we've
Oh,
had since last night like a ton of rain. There's like a river running through our backyard.
yeah. And then it stopped for a while, and then it started up again. And it's supposedly supposed to stop tonight, but
And we
good
just
Lord.
planted some berry bushes and they're like swimming. I don't know if you can drown them, but we'll
Well,
see.
yeah, we don't have to turn on the sprinklers for a while, so that's a good sign.
That is a great sign. Yeah.
So last night, I sent out the email to our travel program, and
What kind of travel
we
program?
softball
Okay.
travel program. And so we'd like to talk a little bit about some of the differences now between softball or just travel sports in general versus back when I grew up. And
How about just kids sports in general,
just kids
youth
sports too.
sports
Yeah,
in
that's
general?
true. That's true.
I mean, it's a huge difference, and even what's available is a huge difference.
Yeah, it's true. Very true. So our older boys, they did the rec leagues, the in-house stuff like that. And now we have found out that rec league really doesn't cut the mustard.
No, but it was also our older boys are almost a whole generation
No, it
older
is. It's an
than our
absolute
so
older
we
generation.
so I've got the oldest is going to be 28 this month.
Is he 28 or 29?
28.
Good
Don't
Lord.
age me more. But and then our youngest is 14. So I
Yeah.
mean, there's a 14-year difference between the oldest and the youngest out of six. And with the older boys, let's just talk youth sports in general. When you were younger,
Hmm.
I didn't play any sports. I moved around a lot, so I really didn't have the opportunity to play sports as much as I really would have wanted to.
Yeah,
You did though,
I did.
and you played youth sports.
I did. I did soccer when I was real young. My mom got me into soccer, and then when I was about 9, she got me into the baseball. I did the basketball. I did football. Um, and then even as I was older, I got into the golf thing. And
And but you played, rec league, and then
yep,
through high school, you didn't ever do any travel.
I did one season, kind of like a partial travel, where we did 2 tournaments when I was like 11 or 12.
Okay. So now the older boys, they did rec ball. Now we lived up in Illinois at this
Hmm.
time, and the rec ball there, it was a really big system.
It was big.
I mean, there was quite a bit of teams. There was, it
Hmm.
was you really didn't have to go to travel ball. There was quite a bit of talent there. However,
Yeah.
I don't believe travel was as prevalent, and I think that's when it started to get bigger,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, my oldest was born in 96,
Yes.
and so it would be like the early 2000s when he was playing, when they were playing,
Yeah.
and through the mid 2000s. And I don't think that the travel, now, full disclosure, they played baseball.
Yeah.
The travel was as crazy. Now, the kids with the youth football, that was travel. I mean, there wasn't.
Well, yeah. I mean, but that was youth football when I was growing up. I mean, we played against other towns. Like
Right,
you
yeah, you
had
just played towns to town to town. It
right.
wasn't like you were going state to state. It was the
No,
neighboring towns. Again, this is from Illinois. We now live in South Carolina, and that's a little bit even different than what we're used
it
to.
is. It is definitely a little bit different. Now, when the older boys were going through and they had the rec league, we had enough teams just inside of our organization where and there was enough talent where you could play against the teams in house,
hmm
get great games, get better, and do all of
There
that
was
stuff.
like 5 or 6 teams per level, sometimes more.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is with quite a bit of teams,
Hmm.
and you had to even do a draft. I mean, it was
Oh
a
yeah,
pretty big deal.
it was.
Yeah, I mean, there was quite a bit of talent at every level, and
Yes.
kids really wanted to play.
Hmm.
And then I think it was the high school coaches, again in Illinois, I think really started pushing the travel, but I also think it was because it was their feeder system.
Right. They ended up using and they were kind of pushing all the kids to go there and basically, I wouldn't say threatening the kids, but if you didn't play through their feeder, it was going to be very difficult for you to make their team.
However, we find that down here, and we found that
Ugh.
down here in baseball
Hmm.
um, with our son, which there is no reason. I mean, and it's not. I am the parent that I can tell you when my kid sucks. I am not going to tell you that my kid is the greatest at everything. And there are sports where I didn't even think my child should play. I've got 6 kids. I'm a realist. Like, I don't. That said, they picked a 7th grader over a kid that was in high school that should have been on that
Oh,
team.
absolutely.
And again, I believe that boils down to they were in the feeder system, and
Well,
that's who they pick
I believe they
from.
call it down here the good old boy network.
But it's no different than up there. It was whoever drank with the coach on Sundays
Yeah.
at the bars. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
I truly believe that that said, those were our experiences then. This is kind of now. Now it seems like if your kid wants to play at the next level, especially down here
Hmm.
in South Carolina, you know, you have to be out playing all summer long, and
You
it
really
is
do.
not the rec ball. And, you know, even having moved from Illinois to South Carolina, the huge difference that we notice just in our daughter playing softball.
Yeah.
You know, we know people whose whose children play up in Illinois, and to see the difference just in the level of play from South Carolina to Illinois is huge. I mean, it's the difference between what travel ball players look like and rec ball players look like, and I'm talking in their high school teams.
Well, I mean, there are some. I mean, obviously, talent is going to find talent. So
Correct.
Illinois has their talent.
Oh, of course. I'm not saying you don't have the talent, but
It's interesting to watch, but one of the arguments about travel ball and is the cost. The cost has gotten out of control.
yeah.
Just to go, as I was sending out the email, and in ours, I've actually kept it very reasonable for everybody, about half of what everybody else is going to pay. But then you turn around and you see these tournaments. These tournaments have their entrance fees. Okay,
Hmm.
one of these tournaments where we're going to join, it's $900. Okay, but we get a minimum of 10 games minimum. But on top of that, so not only do we pay the 900, but on top of that, they charge what's called a gate fee.
Yeah.
The-
Which
the-
the parents are responsible for that as well.
They are, and the gate fee on that one is $450. So yes, we're paying 900 plus 450. We're paying
$1,350.
$1,350 to play in these tournaments.
But to what end? Like, what do the kids? Yes, they
Right.
get 10 games,
Mhm.
but what do they get beyond that?
So
A trophy. Well, down
Yeah.
here they do rings, which is actually
they
kind
do,
of cool.
they do. But on the flip side of that argument, the tournament's over 3 days. So we're going to pay 10 games, at minimum of 10 games over 3 days. Is that too much for the kids? That's one of the arguments. Is it one of Gino Ariamo? He's a head coach at UConn. He says that the United States does it backwards, right? And he relates it to its basketball. The people from Europe, they come across, like a Luca, whatever, and they practice 6 days a week, and they'll play one game a week. Okay. Well, down here or around here, you play 6 games a week. You practice once a week. People with better skills, it's because they practice. We harp on our kids. You got to practice. You got to practice. So our kids actually practice daily
Beyond
beyond what
what they do at school or for their teams, we have tools here at home. Not everybody can do that.
Correct.
However, you can.
you can always do some kind
You
of
have your
work.
kid has a ball and a bat. You can figure out something, whether it's tying an old mattress to a tree, whether it's our kids were pitchers. I took some spray paint and I put a big X where the pitching zone was,
Yep.
and said, a big square on the tree,
Mhm.
and said, hit it.
Yep.
Tree huggers don't come after me, but
I
you have to kind of make do with what you have. And when you were younger,
I did the same thing. We had a picnic table. We would turn it up on its side. And we had an old mattress, and we bungeed it to it, and we spray painted an X to it. And so I was out there every day because we didn't have the tools and all that. I didn't have somebody to go play catch with. I didn't have somebody to catch for me.
you were raised by a single mom,
I was.
so it was you and your brother kind of left to your own vices.
Right. And my brother was a golfer, so he was out doing his thing. I was a baseball player. That's what my passion was at the time. So I wanted to work at it. That's just how I was.
Right.
Like you said, not everybody has that opportunity. But for travel ball, how many times are these teams practicing during the week? Because now we're asking them to play 10 games on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? And they've got, now I know it's in the summer and stuff like that, and the parents got to get them to practice and stuff like that. But how many days a week are we going to practice? Twice?
Yeah, unfortunately, and what we've found is that kids don't want to practice. They don't want
It's
to
hard
get
to
to
get 'em there.
practice, and
It's hard to get in there.
unfortunately, you can't be competitive. Now that said, you hear the thing, well, your kid's not going to make it to the major leagues. No, but if your kid has a goal to want to get to the next level,
Yeah.
my thought process is you want to play better teams in order to be better.
That is true.
You can't stagnate just
Mhm.
playing mediocre teams, because you're never going to get better, because once you start beating them, then you kind of just give up. You need to play better talent in order to get better.
I agree.
That's number one.
Mhm.
However, I think that it has gotten so insane because businesses have gotten involved and marketing has gotten involved, and you're paying all of these different people for these kids to play ball, and I think it's gotten so it's gotten so insane. You
It is.
see
It's
all
a
of
little
these
bit.
families and all of these people at all of these fields all summer long, and you've got to just think of the thousands of dollars these people have spent.
Yeah, it's not only that. I mean, because a lot of these tournaments, like we're gonna be heading to Myrtle Beach. Okay,
Hmm.
are we gonna get a hotel room? Yeah, because it's a 2.5 hour ride. But we're gonna go to Rock Hill. Rock Hill's an hour. We're probably not gonna get a hotel for that one. Spartanburg, 2 hour ride. We'll get a hotel. So it's not, not only do we have the cost of what, just to play, but on top of that, now you've got food, you've got lodging, you've got gas to get there. You've got to take off work because one of these tournaments or two of these tournaments we start on Friday. So it's like, are we insane for pushing our kid to do that? Or
However,
are we doing everything we can for her to improve and get to that next level? So
now
that's
we're not
one of the arguments.
disclosure. We're not pushing our kid to
No,
play.
no, 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 no. We're not pushing.
She wants to
Yeah,
play,
no.
and she wants to play at the next level and
Yeah.
has the talent to do so.
Mhm.
That said, it's
And we're just talking about one of our kids.
it is it's to the point now where you almost have to go that route in order for your kid to play at the next level.
You do.
And it's kind of crazy to me because I think it's just, again, the financial part of it is so insane.
It is.
You can't play at the rec ball level like when our older kids did. You get a high school coach see you, or that's good enough, and you build those skills.
Right.
And secret, a lot of these teams are dad coached, just like rec ball.
Every one of them. Or I wouldn't say every one of them, but 80%
good
of them.
portion of
80
them,
to 85%,
yeah.
I would say. Now there are some teams that do not have, it's former players that play Division One and they want to come back and they want to coach them, but they get paid to do so.
But daddy coaches still beat them.
They do. I mean, and I hate the term daddy ball. And here's why I hate
But it
that term.
happens.
It does.
Okay,
No, it absolutely.
just daddy ball.
Let's describe what daddy ball is. Go ahead. You can give the definition of daddy ball.
Daddy ball is when the dad is the coach, and you can definitely walk up and see who the coach's kid is.
Correct.
And the coach's kid and probably his buddy's kids have the great positions and don't necessarily have the skill set to be in those positions. And there's usually probably a better person on that team than their child. And
There may not be though. I mean, let's be honest. We get it. I mean, a lot of the coaches that we know, they push their kids very hard. Their kids do the extra work and whatever. So some actually earn those spots. And I coach. And I don't make preferential treatment for our kids. I'm a realist with them. I tell them where their shortcomings are.
Because
I applaud them when they do well. I mean,
Yes,
I am
for
their
sure.
biggest cheerleader, but I'm a very
But
I'm
out there-
a hard person to.
other than the butt chin, our sons have the butt chin. Other than that, you couldn't tell who our kid was.
No, you couldn't.
Because he treats them all the same, but not every coach does that. And now I'm not taking anything away from dads that coach. I'm not
No.
taking anything away from coaches, because you know what? There's so many parents on the sidelines bitching and being the
Yes.
armchair quarterbacks.
Mhm.
And my thought process is, because I've coached baseball right along with him, softball,
Yes, you are.
I was a cheerleading coach for my daughter. I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot. And it is a lot of heart, and it is a lot of hard work, and it is a lot of pressure. And there's a lot that goes into being coached, just as much, if not more, than being the player itself, because you not only have everything rests on you. Those kids, yes, the winning and loss is on them. However, ultimately, it's on your shoulders. So,
Yeah.
I mean, hats off to all coaches. However, there are a few that have no business coaching children.
There is.
And
But I understand the term daddy ball, and I get that. And for those that actually do it, stop. But for the dads that are out there that actually are there for their kids and actually
those other kids.
understand how to teach the game, I don't care if you have a kid on the team. I don't.
No, yes.
Doesn't bother me. The minute it is obvious that you A, don't know what you're doing, or B, favoring your child, that's where I have the issue.
Yeah, it's not right.
To me, it should be all about all improvement, the all encompassing, 1 through 10, 1 through 12. Every one of them needs to improve from day one to day whatever.
Because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And that
Absolutely.
is absolutely true. I mean, when he coached, he would have me watch warm-ups.
Mhm.
And, because, he would see things from his point of view, but then I would see things from my point of
Yeah.
view. And what we would do is find the weakest link. And that's where you know where to go.
Yeah.
You know where to hit that ball. Run all day on that catcher because they can't make that throw. run all day if it's hit to this person because they can't make that throw. I mean, it's really important. However, I think some coaches also go in there with such an ego and a chip on their shoulder.
They do, and we've seen it.
And God, that's uncomfortable to watch. And
It
you feel
really
bad
is.
for those kids. You really do.
I actually feel bad for the umpires in those games. If you get thrown out of a youth sports game, you're in the wrong game. You really are. Okay.
I've gotten thrown out.
And
that was only because I asked the umpire for his name.
Now, I will confirm that is exactly what did happen. And I got thrown out once too. And I didn't swear, but I handed my glasses to the official.
Mm-hmm.
It was in high. I was
And
coaching
you
in
said
high
what?
school. I told the official that he needed those more than I did, and he said, "I have to throw you out." And I said, "Thank you,"
Yes.
because I couldn't watch that shit no more.
Yeah.
They were cheating my girls.
Yeah.
You know, I was.
That's what was happening with my girls. It was softball. It was the same thing,
Yeah.
and we were in
Oh,
a playoff game, and these
was
girls
rough.
were 10. I mean, it was not like we were going to the World Series.
I think it was 12U.
Either way, 10U or 12U. I mean, they were young, and we were playing in the playoffs. We were at their field, and I get home field advantage. However, it was beyond, and
That was pretty bad.
I was so pissed off. I mean, our parents were taking like video of this going on, and as I'm walking to third, while our girls are up to bat,
We were in the middle of an inning switch.
yeah. I'm walking to third to go take my position as the third base coach. And as I'm walking past, I just asked the umpire his name.
Yep.
And he kicked me out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to finish that game.
Yeah, we had a whole big thing, powwows with
We
the
did.
two,
We ended up-
with the two townships. I mean, it was a big deal.
That was a rough one, and I've always told the kids it's always, you know, when you're fighting the other team, that's hard enough, but when you're fighting the other team and the official, that's really hard. But
Back on to travel ball.
but travel ball, yeah. So my opinion, I've seen too many coaches get thrown out because they're screaming, yelling, whatever, and I understand passion. I get passion.
But the parents too, we are firm believers in keeping the parents at bay because you're not doing your kid any favor.
Oh, we had that. We had a game. We were playing. We were coaching, and the official asked a parent who was sitting behind the dugout or behind the backstop to knock it off, to shut up.
It was the opposing team.
Yeah,
we were at their home
We were
field.
at their field, and the woman wouldn't stop. Ump said, "I'm done."
Yeah, he did. He reached in his little pouch, grabbed the balls, dropped them on the ground,
So I'm
and
done.
walked off the field. He goes, "I'm not going to be treated like
Okay.
this." You know, when we ran an organization, and the biggest problem we had was finding umpires,
Yeah.
and it's the reason being is because parents are so brutal.
Mhm.
They really are. Like, they believe like the whole world rests on whether their child wins or loses
That
this
little
game.
giant,
And
that 11-year-old, it's really going to make a difference in his life.
we're all about the passion, but holy guacamole.
So, I mean, overall, I think travel sports is good. I do believe it's become a money issue more so than a talent issue. But if you have the right coach and if you have the right situation, I think it's fantastic for the kids. Because that right coach can teach life lessons. That coach can be somebody that girl remembers or that boy remembers 8 years on the line, 10 years on the line, just one, whatever lesson. So done that way, I think it's absolutely worth it.
You know, and they say uncoachable kids are unhireable adults.
It is so true.
Being part of a team is so, I believe, vitally important for a kid. You know, whether it's a rec ball, whatever it may be, you know, even being part of the band, being just part of something bigger than themselves and wanting something, you know, if you're part of the band and not everybody plays well, it kind of reflects on all of you, but
Yeah.
you're part of the band and everybody does amazing, that's a win, you know, or everybody does better. I mean, it doesn't, if your child isn't athletic, there are many other things that they can do
Yeah.
in lieu of sports. So but you know, and with travel ball, I think that they do a disservice. They, being organizations, do a disservice to these parents and these families, especially some of them who can't afford to play, by not getting more creative with their fundraisers. I want to say
Yeah.
that's one thing that we really try to do is
We did.
we really try to get more creative with fundraisers, and anybody feel free to use this idea, but we would sell squares for games for football.
NCAA tournament squares and Super Bowl squares.
You know, half the money gets paid out and then half the money goes to the team. And it was a great, really quick way to earn the money for the girls. And we did it last season for our softball team.
We did.
And within one weekend, we earned $1,000 for the girls.
Yep.
And that's just all the families, you have 100 squares and you've got 12 girls,
Right.
and
Everybody's got to
that's
sell
less
eight.
than 10 squares per girl, and everybody sells one of those squares.
Mhm. Sell eight of them. So you're responsible to sell eight.
That's a grand. You could, that pays for one tournament, and believe me, that knocks off a lot of money
does.
per girl.
100%.
And there's many ways that you can get creative being part of it. But back to the original topic, rec ball now has gotten so depleted.
Oh, it's horrible.
Locally, I don't know what it is in your areas, but locally, we're seeing they can't get enough kids to sign up anymore.
So
And rec
Yeah.
ball, there's usually programs for kids who can't afford to play, or even in these travel teams.
here's the thing: the rec ball around here, it's $45
Yeah, that's not
for the
expensive.
whole season. That's it.
But then again, people are very much, in my opinion, in the frame of mind of they don't want to spend their time doing it.
That is true.
Because instead of sending your kid outside or hanging out with your kid or doing things with your kid, they hand them an iPad. Or they put them in front of a television because
Yep.
they don't want to be bothered. And I'm not saying this about every single parent. I promise this is all for entertainment purposes and our opinions only.
This is just our point of view.
However, just being a human being and having been a mom for 28 years and through different generations of parenting, it was more hands-on with the older boys. All
Mhm.
parents were more all hands on deck. But you also have to think that's the way the world is now too.
Yeah.
And I also believe that maybe they're shying away because they figure, well, what's my kid going to do? If they're playing rec ball, where are
Yeah.
they going to go? So I think they believe that maybe they have to play at this higher level.
So I don't understand 8U travel ball. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't even think they should do it until 12U, 14U.
I
My opinion.
if your kid's a stud at the age of 7, put him in a 10U. But I still think 10U is too early.
Hmm.
You're not learning the fundamentals, and a lot of these travel ball coaches, if you look, here's what bothers me. Another thing that bothers me when these coaches are looking for players, and they said we're looking for an experienced pitcher, we're looking for a big bat. Why? Why don't you teach that kid how to be that pitcher? Teach that kid how to hit. But these coaches, they want somebody else to do the work, and have this kid just.
We're noticing that in high school levels. It's kind
it's
of like,
very interesting.
are these coaches really great coaches, or are they just using somebody else's work? And because
it's a tricky one.
Yeah, and especially at the high school level, like a lot of these girls, they go to batting coaches,
Mhm.
or if you're pitcher or catchers, they go to pitching coaches, they
Yes,
go
they
to
do.
catching coaches, and I'm going to tell you right now, like, we've invested a lot of money in our daughter with privates and however, and I don't want somebody else coming in and breaking what was done, and I
Yeah.
can only imagine these parents of pitchers. These parents spend a lot of money
Lot of
for
money.
these girls to go to privates because
Mhm.
these girls have something special, and to have a coach try to change that at a high school level, who's usually a teacher or something along those lines, that could be very frustrating.
Yeah, it is, and we've
It's
seen
not
it.
happening with us. It's
No,
not
no,
happening
no.
at our school. These are just observations.
No, we're in a different kind of, me being a coach, you being a coach, and we have what we have here. So yes, we used to pay for privates, but we don't do that anymore because we have everything here. And I actually took the time to learn the specifics of it, and it's taken a long time though. I mean, we're 2 years into this.
He's
stuff.
annoyingly good at every sport. I mean, annoyingly good at every sport. And with our daughter, there's only so much you can hit off a tee. And,
Right.
there's only so far that's going to get you in batting. And soft tossing, again, it's not going to do anything for you as a batter because that's not how it happens in a game situation.
Correct.
So this guy decided to watch YouTube videos and taught himself how to pitch like a girl so she can, because she's a catcher, so she could catch the live balls, or
Yeah.
so she can hit off of live pitching. And even installed a batting cage in our backyard for her.
So the way I figured that though, at $40 a pop on private lessons,
It was worth it to put one in.
in the long haul, it was absolutely cheaper to just put one in. We got the poles for free, had to pay for the net and the concrete. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, and we built
In a day, 2 days. Well, you had to just wait for the concrete to set. But, Mike and our daughter did that together, and that was
We did.
actually really kind of cool. That was
Yeah.
really a neat
And
thing.
we use that 3 to 5 times a week. I mean,
Mhm.
she'll come home from school before practice, and we'll go hit. If she's whatever she wants to, gets her loose, whatever she's comfortable with her swing, and then she'll go to practice. That's a different kind of dedication. I don't ask her to go out and do that. She does that.
Well, it kind of goes with the want.
Yeah.
You can't, you see a lot of parents pushing these kids, and it's almost like, is it the kid wanting to play, or is it you pushing that kid to want to play?
Right.
And you see that a lot, especially
We
in the
do.
summer. I mean, there are times where these kids are up to bat, and, it's almost like they look over at their parent and they're like, after they swung and they missed, or after they should have hit the ball, or they should have done something, and they're looking at their parents like, it's like, are they going to catch hell for that at home?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of sad and scary. However, more often than not, people are great. They truly are.
95% of the people, fantastic. And they're out there for their kid.
Yeah.
It's the 5% that make it awful.
And cringy. I mean, it really can get very
Bad.
cringy. But back to what we were saying, rec ball,
We saw the lowering in enrollment from when our 24, he'll be 24, he's 24 now, from between our 24-year-old and our 16-year-old, right? So that's only an 8-year difference.
They were playing at the same field at the same time, obviously in way different levels.
Right. But once we got up to we call it the pony level, whatever, it's a 13 to 15 age.
Yeah.
When the 24-year-old was going through, we still had 5-6 teams, great talent at that level. By the time our 16-year-old got there, we were down to 2 teams.
Yeah.
And we ended up having to
and
go
it was
to play
it was
against our
begging.
towns.
Yeah, it was begging. Yeah, you
Those
almost had to go to like a semi-travel and play different townships.
Yeah, we had to play against their in-house programs
But it wasn't just our in-house
No.
program. All of their, and these were all big, flourishing
Yeah.
programs, and they just kind of went by the wayside in an 8-year span.
Yeah, and it was so quick, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the kids didn't even, it was weird. It's like they would go try out for travel, not make it, and then basically quit.
Mm-hmm.
So then if they did make it, great. If they got cut from one, they would go try out for a different one. So it's like almost.
But
they
there
were
wasn't
pushing
as
for it.
many,
There were.
with our older boys.
No, there weren't.
But, I think they also quit because they had in their head, well, if I'm not going to make this, I'm not going to make the team. I'm not going to make the high school team. Instead of working harder and honing their craft and maybe getting better and trying out again next year,
Yeah.
they just stopped. But that's kind of, and parents let that happen. I mean, I'll admit with our 24-year-old at 16, I let him walk away, which I still regret to this day. I never let him quit football, but I let him walk away from baseball, and I still regret that decision. I
think he does too, though.
Yeah.
I absolutely think he does too. Now we have our 16-year-old now. He's into golf, which is fine. He got kind of screwed by the high school coach twice. When we moved down here, the kid had talent. The kid was talented.
You want to talk about wanting to go beat up a damn coach?
But he didn't sit on his ass. He's not doing anything. He decided to pick up a golf club. So at freshman year in high school, or no, after freshman year, between freshman and sophomore year, he picks up a golf club. Ends up making the team sophomore year. Now he's a varsity player.
At his junior year, yeah.
Yeah, in a year and a half, he has gone from never picking up a golf club to he shoots high 70s, low 80s, and he can get down to the low 70s.
Which that means par is usually
between 70 and 72.
So he's shooting just a little bit above.
Yeah. So,
for those people who don't know much about golf.
But that's because he works at it. He enjoys it. He actually got a job at the country club, just running carts and stuff like that. But with downtime, he can hit balls and work on his game. So to me, that's cool. At least he's passionate now about golf. We can't get him going back to baseball. It kind of breaks her heart a little bit.
Kind of really breaks my heart.
But it is what it is. But even our 14-year-old doesn't want to play baseball no more. But what's he going to play? Football. So he's in the weight room now. That kid's going to be a monster. And, but that's his passion.
But down here, or even anywhere, just in general, let's get back to the travel versus not travel. I mean, for if your kids in high school or going to high school, you have those decisions to make. And if they want to play any kind of sport, is there a travel league offered in your area? How much is it? What are the difference between these travel leagues? And honestly, ask parents, ask people. You go to these tournaments, watch a few games. You can see really, really quick. Yeah, I don't ever want my kid to play for that. Or oh my goodness, that's and start asking questions.
I did have one parent when I was coaching. I was coaching the younger levels, and a parent flat out said, "My kid will never play for you." I said, "Okay, no problem."
Because he was loud. However, the fact that he was loud, but she wasn't listening to what he was saying. Right. He was being loud, because we had a boy on our team that had a cochlear implant, and he couldn't hear.
He didn't have the cochlear implant at that time. He was deaf.
However,
he was deaf.
he couldn't hear really well. So Mike just started being, that's where you found your coach's voice
did,
actually
I
with them being really, really loud.
Yeah.
But what they weren't hearing is what he was saying. And that's the problem too, is people are so quick to jump to conclusions because of the volume of somebody's voice rather than listening to the message that's delivered. And, but that's also society.
Right.
I mean, it really is. If somebody's being loud, it doesn't, just because somebody's voice is raised
negative.
doesn't mean that they're negative. It means they're trying to get you to hear them. And that's a coach thing. I mean, I coached 28 girls that were in 4th and 5th grade, and you don't think I had to scream, and I'm a loud person anyways, but it didn't mean that I was mad at them. It means I need to get your attention. You need to focus here.
No microphone was needed for you.
No.
But moral of my story is 4 years later, that kid played for me multiple years.
And didn't want to play for anybody else.
No. So
the volume
just
doesn't matter. Listen to the message.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway right there.
So my final take on travel ball. 8U, it's stupid. It's dumb. There's no reason for 8U travel ball. 10U. If you want to do it, great. You're going to get the same out of rec ball and save yourself a bunch of money. If you want to do a couple tournaments, great. I understand it. By about 12U, you're going to know if your kid's really going to start taking it seriously.
Also look into picking up. What that means is there's probably in your area, I know there is in our area, there's
Absolutely.
a bunch of different Facebook pages that are for softball and or baseball or whatever. Usually softball, baseball is where you can do the pickup. This is primarily what we're talking about as far as travel is concerned.
Yes.
But they look for players often. They have kids on their team, but people
take vacations over the
summer.
summer.
People take vacations, whatever. Basically, what you do is you pay your entrance dues. So if each girl was responsible for $40 that weekend,
for that tournament,
you pay $40, and then you give a copy of the birth certificate. They usually give you a uniform, tell you what pants to wear, and it gives your kid exposure to see do they even like the travel. Do they, and that's a great way to kind of get out there. That's a great way to see other teams. That's a great way to even get your foot in the door for a team.
Yep.
And the best advice that I can give you is have your child have a great attitude, and you too, because not only are those coaches looking at your kid, but they're also looking at you. And if you're an ass and you're being an ass to the umpires and you're being rude and you're not cheering on these other girls, like one of our biggest things was to make sure by the end of that tournament, we knew every player's name out there. So we were cheering just as loud for them as we were our own child.
Absolutely.
And,
it's more fun that way.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a difference, but try to look up for pickups because there are always teams looking for players and, put your kid out there. Why not?
Why not? I agree.
And it also, in the long run, can be less expensive than actually being on a team, but your kid is still getting the reps. They're still getting the exposure. And it's a great way if you don't want to fully commit, because I understand that people have very busy schedules with multiple kids. We, by the grace of God, are so lucky to have our older boys available to help us when we do travel. I mean, if we didn't have them, I don't know if we'd be able to do what we do. It really takes a village.
We would not be able to do it together. I can tell you that right now.
No, we really would not.
Not with the dogs and everybody else, but yeah. No,
now,
we've been blessed.
The difference between high school and travel ball.
Yes.
There's some saying that they don't even play in high school anymore. They just play travel because that's where they get to meet all the coaches. I mean, how many kids get scouted from in baseball and softball, get scouted from, or any sport for that matter, from high school?
So football, it's 100%.
Right.
It really is. You don't have a choice. Golf, I don't know.
There's these
baseball, softball, I don't know. I was just reading a story about the girl that you could be a freshman at University of Texas. She never played for her high school. Never. She got recruited out of travel ball. We do know a couple girls that got recruited out of travel ball.
Actually, all the girls we know got recruited out of travel ball.
Yeah. So softball, I don't know. To me, it was always, I got recruited out of high school ball, but because when I was younger,
but that was also, in the 90s.
But my pitching coach was an ex-Pirate player, Pittsburgh Pirate player, so he had connections, and that's how I got noticed. I don't know. I don't know if it's better to play high school ball. To me, it's cool to play for your high school. You want the opportunity to win that state championship.
We think both. You play travel and.
I think so. And that's our opinion. But for recruitment purposes, I don't know. It might just be play high school ball. But what are you going to do for those 3 months while everybody else is playing?
Right.
So if you're worried about getting hurt, that's a bigger issue. You know, you got to
We
play the game.
we
We
did some of
understand
these
injuries happen.
showcase tournaments with our daughter,
Yep.
and that's where there's college coaches there.
Yes, there are.
You know which college coaches are there ahead of time, and the first couple of days are during your pool play sessions.
hmm
The girls play like a normal team with their coaches, or no?
No, other way around. So,
So
the,
the first
the college coaches are on the field coaching the game, kind of.
Yeah, and
When
they
they
can
pay
take
attention.
notes on the girls, and it all depends. There's age where they can talk to the girls, and they have to be a certain year in school before they can talk to them. So there's rules and
Yeah,
everything
there's dead periods. I got to learn all
that
that stuff.
goes into it. That said, I have good and bad things to say about those.
I don't have many good things to say about it. So you can go with the good things.
I thought the overall experience was more nerve-wracking for the kids. I think that the coaches, the college coaches, in my opinion, talked to each other more than they watched the girls. And I think you played insane amounts of money and really didn't even know what to do. It's like our coaches didn't know how to handle things. We didn't know that you could go and talk to college coaches like that. That's appreciated. But then again, with some of these college coaches, they seem extremely unapproachable. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yep.
And I don't necessarily believe that would be something that I would think that we needed to do, especially with the cost.
So
My goodness,
those
the cost.
tournaments up front are a minimum of $1,200.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're only going to get they're only guaranteeing 3 games with the college coaches,
Mm-hmm.
and then you run into single elimination, and it's usually maybe 2 more games.
And then the college coaches will come back on the final day, but they seem to be only watching the bigger teams, which really kind of sucks for
So there are
smaller teams. So these,
Yeah.
These girls kind of feel like, well, are we the redheaded stepchildren of the, they're not looking at us, even though some of these girls are way more talented than those big name teams.
So, I mean, you could look at it both ways. So they come back to look at these big teams, and I get that. And on that last day, that Sunday, you could be one of the smaller teams, but you could be playing against those bigger teams, which did happen to our girls. And we beat that bigger team
Yes.
in front of those college coaches. So but those showcases are set up for players that already have relationships with coaches.
Mhm.
Okay. 99% of those players that are going to those coaches don't care. They really don't, because, it's just not their thing. They've already developed relationships with the kids that they want to go see. So they know the kids that they're looking for.
And the laws of averages. And you have to remember, on these rosters, all these coaches that are out there, they're going to take one person was saying they're going to take maybe 2 kids from each tournament.
Maybe.
And
there's 60 teams in those tournaments.
Mm-hmm. So maybe 2 kids.
So 60 times,
Each
let's just
coach.
say 12 kids. So that's 60 times 12, 720 kids.
Yeah, so there's maybe 30 coaches there. So maybe
Yeah.
30 to 60, let's say maximum 60 kids are going to be taken out of 700.
Odds aren't very good. But the reason those costs are so high, because they put those coaches up in hotels, they feed them the entire weekend. It's basically a field trip for them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's not my thing. It's not my thing. We're not doing it this year. We're going to do tournaments. We're focusing on tournaments against a good competition.
Right.
So
I think more games, the better.
Well, the more games, but the more games against the right competition. So we're going to go against the elite teams. Now, are we going to get our butts kicked on a couple of? Probably. Are we going to beat some teams? Yeah, we are. But it's going to be experience.
However, there are camps too that you can
Yep.
put your kids in. And this is
Absolutely.
for every sport. And there are camps specifically for positional players
Mhm.
in every sport, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, whether it's softball. And that's where you can start building a rapport with these coaches.
Mhm.
Also, they start to give you an idea of what you need to do and what college coaches look for. And you can start from there. And what we learned most importantly this year is, if there's a coach or a college that you're interested in, have your child advocate for themselves and reach out to those coaches.
Yes. Send them emails.
Yeah. And that's
100%.
what actually more coaches than not were saying. If your kid wants to play here,
Send them emails.
send us emails. Let us know. Tell us about yourself. They're not going to come seek you out, but
Mm-mm.
if you seek them out, they're certainly going to look for you.
Yep, absolutely.
And, I thought that was great information to have. So if your child is interested in a school, have them start emailing the coach
Mhm.
of their sport. Also, one of the big things that they said this year too was, one of the first things I asked our daughter was, what do you want to do?
In terms of studies.
Yeah. And, you know, our daughter already knows, and that might change this year, it might change next year, but she wants to be an engineer. So certain schools had nothing to do with engineering. And, you know, your first couple of years, you just need your gen ed. So the coach was like, well, you can start here, but then you would have to transfer to this school, but you can still play there. So, you know, that makes a difference too.
Yep.
You know, your child being armed with the information about what they want to do when they grow up. And if they don't know, be honest about that too. You don't have to give something BS. And advocate for yourselves. Have your child do it. You cannot do it for your child.
No.
You know, especially the older they get, they say the first things that they look for is who's bringing the water to the dugout. Your child should be responsible. I mean, especially if they're a teenager and they're playing high school. Obviously, they're going to need you for something if it's a hot day and they run out of something to drink, but they shouldn't be at that fence or anything calling your name every 5 seconds. They shouldn't be on the sidelines flagging you down every 5 seconds. You're part of a team. Let your coach know. You know.
Want me to give the secret to recruiting right now? All right. So for all players, first thing a coach is going to look at, it's not going to be your stats. Everybody can hit a home run. Everybody can throw the ball 50 yards.
Especially at this level.
Everybody can shoot a three-pointer. What they look at, your social media. What do they look at on your social media? Are you only posting about yourself? You're not a kid that they want. If you're posting about your team and congratulating your teammates, that's the kid that they want. Okay? Everybody's got skills at the next level. Everybody.
They want to see what kind of teammate you are.
Number
They're watching
one,
you
teammate.
off and on that field. They're watching how you listen to your coach. They're watching how you live and breathe for your team. I mean, you know, we try to enforce to our kids, even if you don't like a person off the field, when you are on that field and you are in that dugout or you are on those sidelines or you are on those benches, those are every single one of them are your best friends.
100%.
You will cheer from top to bottom and nobody will ever be able to tell that you don't like that person.
That's right.
Because at that point, it's not about you. It's about that team.
So that's the key. They always look at that. Like I said, these coaches will go to these games. They'll see you maybe bat once. They see you walk. They can go see your highlights or whatever. But what they do watch is when you run off that dugout, are you the one cheering your teammate on? Are you the one going to give that high five for that person that made that catch or that throw?
Or if you're sitting that inning or that
and you're up the fence, you're still cheering and doing all that. Are you the good teammate? That's what they want. Your skill will stand out, no doubt. I mean, if you're good, you're good, no doubt. But if you're good with a bad attitude, you're just like you're a bad player.
And you know what? Even if you only play in high school, you're going to be seen if you are that great. And again, you can still reach out to these college coaches and you can ask them to come watch you play.
Yes, you can.
Send them videos. If your mama's not there, if your dad's not there, have one of your friends. Everybody has cell phones nowadays. Hey, can you record me when I'm up? Can you record me when I'm running? Can you record me doing this? And send in those videos. Even just write an email. Say, listen, I really want to play for you. These are my stats. Can you come watch me? And they will. They absolutely will. They want to also see what your grades are doing too, though.
Grades are important.
Grades are extremely important because if you're not going to be able to have the grades to play on their team, they're probably not going to want to talk to you. So you need to keep that in mind in staying out of trouble. Stay out of trouble.
So what's our opinion? Travel sports versus high school sports or travel sports versus rec league?
Oh, well, I think that rec league, unfortunately, is kind of going by the wayside.
I think so too.
However, if it is big and huge in your area,
play.
Let your child play, especially when they're little, anything that they want. Just don't let them quit. At least make them finish the season. You don't have to make them sign up next year, but let them finish the season.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, because that teaches them something more. You're not going to like every coach you're going to get, just like you're not going to like every boss that's out there. And you're not going to like every teammate that you play with, just like you're not going to like every coworker. However, it's how you persevere and move beyond that. And I think that whatever best suits your finances, which best suits your kid, if your child has talent and your child has passion, that's going to show no matter where they play. And you are the driver of that bus. And by you, I mean your child is the driver of that bus. And if they're really serious about playing at the next level, there's so many things that they can do on their own behalf to make that happen. And I don't believe that it has to be through the travel system or the school system, one or the other. But you do have to play somewhere. And, you know, again, with travel systems, there are usually scholarships, especially with the bigger programs. And with the smaller programs, I believe there's things that can be worked out as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, and if it doesn't work at this program, go to the next one. But also, like I said, picking up also works a lot too in baseball and softball.
We haven't even gotten into the ones that do these national teams that go not just
Travel, like,
Colorado. I mean, there's big tournaments out in Colorado. There's, I think, 3 that they do, and people stay out there for weeks.
yeah, we were told that was horrible for pitchers because of the altitude. And
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, that's kind of beyond, that's way beyond our pocketbook.
Yeah, we
So,
don't do
I
that
mean, and
stuff.
if it fits yours,
Have fun with it, and I hope the experience is worth it.
yeah, I mean, because that's really truly what it's about at that point. It's about the experience. But we are big proponents of kids in sports, and
Yep.
it also keeps kids out of trouble too.
Yep.
I mean, it really does. I think that these kids look back at their lives and are truly grateful for the times that they played in sports. And
Yeah, lifelong friends.
yeah, it really does. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, I know our kids still talk to their old teammates. That's where they
They
made
do.
some of, actually all of their best friends were playing sports. And even if your kid's not the greatest, that's okay too. It is okay. I mean, as long as they are out there still being the best teammate, still being that happy person out there on the field. And, you know, sometimes it sucks, but man, does it make a difference in a kid.
It really does.
It really does. And coaches truly are amazing creatures for the volunteering of your time. Even the coaches that get paid, it's not easy. It is so.
They don't get paid enough for how much time they put in.
Youth coaches. We're talking
Youth,
about
youth.
youth coaches.
If I was getting Ryan Day money, I'd be coaching every day.
But anyways, I think that's it for now.
I think so.
All right, until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.